website right now and download my free course on alternate picking mastery. It contains 5 essential exercises that will take you to alternate picking mastery faster than you can imagine. And then I've included my method of how to lay out a practice plan in just 1 to 2 minutes that will absolutely boost your results like nothing you ever tried before. So go download it right now. It's free. What is the Mixolydian mode? Well, in this case, it was the G dominant 7th chord, which is a G 7th, played in the background with the C major scale on top of it, while I was focusing on the notes of the chord in the background, beginning and ending my lines on a chord note that we're already hearing in the background. That's the Mixolydian mode. And so what is the third way of learning modes, of mastering modes? We've been talking about ear training, how you do that in a specific way. We've been talking about how to use the pentatonic scale. And I should say I have a huge program. It's my biggest program. It's a training system that focuses on modes and just controlling the sound. And in that program, I show you all kinds of stuff with how you can use one mode over the wrong chord and how you can use pentatonics on an advanced level and all kinds of stuff. But this is not an ad. This is not but people ask me, what is the modal mastery then? You showed me the whole thing, right? But it's mastery. It's modal mastery. But how do you learn it? Well, the third way here is to just build your approach on the basis of the definition of what a mode is. You take a scale, focus on the notes of the chord in the background, right? How do you do that? Well, you learn the arpeggio, right? If you have the C major scale, then you also have 7 different arpeggios. You have 7 different chords derived from that scale, right? And that means that you also have 7 different arpeggios. So, and that thought of taking the C major scale, laying out the arpeggio, the arpeggio notes, or the notes of the chord C, or C major 7th, across the whole fretboard within that scale, learning those notes, that is the ultimate, because then you know exactly where the notes are, right? And then you take the D minor, the 2nd chord, then you take the C major scale, all across the whole fretboard, and then you mark out the notes of the D minor chord. And then you do the same thing with the E minor. So no matter what out of the 7 chords you're playing in the background, you can just, bam, find the chord notes right away. That was my ambition when I started building the system that later became modal mastery. And it really is possible, and it creates the most amazing amount of certainty when you improvise that you always know what you're doing. But if you're not, into that, then what is this really about? Well, the simplest way of practicing this, of practicing using arpeggios, and let me just give you a demo here. Let's say that we have that simple chord progression again. No, let me just take like C major, and then E minor, F major, and then G, right? When you then improvise, just imagine if you could see the chord notes change on the fretboard. You have the same C major scale laid out, and then bam, you can see the notes of the E minor, the notes of the F major arpeggio, G major arpeggio, like that, right? And that's, of course, really seems like a daunting task, right? Playing just the chord notes. Right? You see how it sounds almost like such a sweet little melody because it's simple. There's no tension in it. It always chord notes. Very simple melody because I'm just playing chord notes. So how do you do that? If you want to do that tomorrow or today, what do? Well, you lay out the arpeggios in advance. You take the scale shape you want to work with, and then you lay out the arpeggio. So let's just take a cool chord progression. Let's do an A minor, right? And we just put some clean chords on top of that. We have the E major there, right? We have some chords there, A minor, and then I lay out the arpeggios. I say, okay, where's my A minor? I like this shape up here. Right, that's my A minor. And then we have a D minor. I know this shape as well. So I can play that there. Here. And then we have the E major. But you use the F diminished for that, because I know I can do that. So A minor. Right, stuff like that. And then you put in the scale notes in between. But now I've marked them out, so I know exactly where they are. Then I can practice beforehand, before I play my solo, and really focus on the chord notes with an amazing amount of certainty. Let me just try a little bit again here. To go about it if you really want to do the final thing of knowing exactly where the chord notes are. But the other two methods just before that, and of course you can develop you can practice here on this, and then you can lay out some different shapes down here, and then practice that for like 10 or 15 minutes. Go back here, go back and forth until you really you have some freedom. You can go back and forth between different arpeggios and scale shapes, right? But you have to practice in advance. And you can, of course, learn the whole freaking system of being able to hit any arpeggio within any one of these scales. So we have three different methods. We have the listening method, where we focus on a 6-note shape, and then we find the right notes, one per string, right? Each string, we practice, and then we combine the strings, and then we move on to another shape. The coughing. And then the second way was to use pentatonic shapes, which is basically an arpeggio. And then the third is to really use the arpeggios, the specific arpeggios and the scale of the chord being played in the background. And if you combine all three, if you practice, like sometimes you lay out the arpeggios like we just did and practice in the solo. Sometimes you do some ear training, and focus on one chord like for a week or 2 weeks or even a month. Like focus on the Aeolian mode, because we use that a lot. And then just go up and down, select multiple 6-note shapes when you do your ear training. Really focus on it so you remember it, so you get it in there instead of going from one thing to another, one mode to another. So it's everything, right? So stay with something. That's mastery. That's what gets you there the fastest, even though it's counterintuitive. But then you use the pentatonic shapes as well, to get some variety into your modal training, right? Use that method, and you use it again for a week, 2 weeks, a month, just that with just 1 or 2 modes. And then you might want to go into, I have a solo playing with the band, and I use that method of just laying out my 3-note arpeggios or 4-note arpeggios, right, in select places on the neck, and then you practice that before you go in to play with the guys. And then that can become a whole culture, a whole thing you do on a regular basis to just get to know those 7 notes of the major scale so well. So you can produce any sound, and you can follow the chords in the background. And it doesn't have to be like I have to do 1, then 2, then 3, and I have to practice it over and over again. Just bring this with you, and then practice it. Have fun with it. Use the simplest tools if you don't have time, right? You have to play now. Use the pentatonic scale, right? That fits more than one chord, and then, spice it up with using the diatonic scale in the bottom, but don't follow the chords with anything but your ear, right? And then you can use more advanced tools as you become better at them. And that's really the way to go about it. Some people, most people actually, want to get to a certain place where you have total mastery. But don't ever focus on that. Only focus on getting total mastery over something small. And then piece that together. Then you get up to a level where you have so much control over stuff that, oh, you could say you have mastery now, but you don't really, because you just see other things you can learn. And so you don't master those. You can't do this. And then you feel like the same way again, right? There's something to reach for. And the minute there's nothing to reach for, you know that you're complacent, you're in your comfort zone, and you won't develop. So you'll be boring to listen to gradually. So you wanna go somewhere all the time. So you constantly develop your playing style, so it's fresh and new all the time. So it never stops. So just forget about the place in the future where everything the sun shines and you have pina colada and you play like a dream all the time, right? It's just a never-ending journey towards something more. So just start and have fun with the tools and become better and getting more and more control and being able to do more and more things. So go back and watch the other videos if you have something to catch up on, and then go do some research on other parts of the internet, because the more you hear different stories, the more the puzzle seems to come together at some point, and then come back here with that new knowledge, and things will sound a little bit different to you, and you'll understand some more of it if you don't have the whole thing down at this point.
Subscribe for more free videos. Do it. Do it now. Do it.